we go. So I invite us to welcome everybody. I'm glad you decided to join us tonight. Let's take a breath and we'll open with a prayer. And I breathe to inform my mind and body and heart and soul, that intentional breath that I recognize now as a doorway to the sacred. The breath reminding me of the presence of spirit, of life itself, pouring itself into body and mind and heart and soul, and withholding nothing of itself as it does so. Thoughts and feelings and dreams and desires, all part of the greater whole. And so tonight we open the door to all of those things. We do so in a safe and sacred environment that allows us to reacquaint ourselves, perhaps, with our own feelings, what they are, why they are, how to collaborate in a good way with all the aspects of our being. And so tonight we do that. We do so in safety. We do so in the company of each other, in the company of the Most High. And it's good. There's an invitation here that the universe recognizes and says yes. And so for all of that, I give thanks in advance. Knowing it to be good, I rest in that goodness and let it be. And so it is. Amen. Blessed be. Okay, so yes, tonight, a new month, a new theme, and a fascinating one at that. Facing the feelings is our theme for September. Let me get to my notes for tonight. I'm working on tonight's talk and I'm working on Sunday's talk at the same time, or was today. So let's see, where do we begin? Face the feelings, and feelings can be messy and confusing, and they can be wonderful and delightful and intoxicating and then sometimes not so wonderful, yeah? I was raised in a generation where feelings, and especially among young male children, was not taught, was not spoken to or explained, let alone honored, let alone honored as a voice of God. But my early teachers, I've come to believe that they withheld things from me intentionally or unintentionally. They positioned things, in this case, feelings, as essentially undesirable. And so when they would come up, when feelings would come up, I couldn't really talk to my parents about them, and I really didn't have anyone else to ask. And so I just went with what I was taught. That feelings were, well, they weren't masculine, that's for sure, and they weren't even really desirable, as far as I could tell. He's just emotional. Or when I felt my feelings, I was overly sensitive. Therefore, what I learned was basically avoidance. Now I was allowed and encouraged to think my way through life, out of a tight spot, whatever, apply my intellect, and intellectually I did well. I scored well in school, but in school as well, they didn't teach or acknowledge feelings. But we get to a point, got to a point somewhere along the way when I realized that that to think about or to try to live avoiding our feelings is grossly incomplete. feelings have always been and will always be. And we come back to them again and again. They're part of the equation, and the invitation seems to be to develop a good relationship with them. To develop any relationship with them is a beginning, but to develop a good relationship with them can change the way that we navigate them, and as a result, in the way that we navigate life. Feelings are messengers. If I feel bad or sad or afraid, there's always a message I have discovered. Reciprocally, if I feel joyful and well and celebratory, there is a message. There always seems to be a message. And then there is this. Dr. Holmes, one of my favorite reminders from him, he says, God speaks to the heart in a language of feeling. God speaks to the heart in a language of feeling. If I desire to cultivate and nourish and expand my relationship with the divine, I need to learn the language. I need to know the language. If I'm not willing to do that, well, I guess we could read a book, but that doesn't come close to our personal experience, your personal experience, your personal relationship with the divine. So let's bring all that into today. What I observe, and more so this year because of all that's going on in our world, is that we're experiencing feelings in a big way, in an exceptionally big way. I know that I am. And my question to you tonight is, how are you doing navigating your own feelings in this season? Considering the possibility that your feelings are messengers, what might be the current message based on what you're feeling? What is the voice of God whispering to you today? Feelings are an aspect of our philosophy that it seems to me we're not equally represented early in our teaching. We're a thinking, we're a mental philosophy, and yet in the last couple of decades, really since I've gotten into the movement, I've noticed that the universe is balancing itself, that we're righting itself, that we're leaning more and more into feelings as an undeniable aspect of the divine. And how do we do with those? How do we navigate with those? How do we allow ourselves to be informed and nourished and nurtured, accompanied, because our feelings accompany us with every breath, in every circumstance, every situation, every moment? How do we improve our relationship with them that we can have a better experience of life? Whatever that means to you. I am seeking to expand and increase my experience of life. And my feelings help me do that. What do they do for you? How are you doing with your feelings in this season of big feelings? Here's the other thing that I realized is that for, well, no, I was going to say for the first time, or it's not really all that unique that we have something so significant in common. We have actually before and will again, and there are other things that we have in common, like, planetary stewardship, like global warming, things like that. So we have these concerns in common, this virus in common, the maturation of our culture, of our society when it comes to race. We have that in common. And then we've Many of us have individual significant things going on in addition to that. How are you doing with all of that? And is there something that your feelings might be informing you of that can contribute to a better experience than you're currently having? All of those questions are fair game tonight. Anything that you would like to speak to as it relates to feelings, as a feeling, thinking, breathing, dreaming, religious scientist? How are all of those things coming together in you? And yeah, that's what I want to know. So let's go ahead and open it up. Whoever would like to step in and speak to the topic of feelings, I invite you to do so. Let's see, let me change my view so I can see. Aha, Krista, you look pensive. She's like, no, not really. Okay. Who would like to start us this evening?
This is Krista. I actually can start. I was just having to find where the button was, you know, that sort of a thing.
Ah, that was that look on your face. Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, this is an interesting one for me because I've found that what holds me back from full immersion into science of mind and more classes and more stuff is that sometimes I feel like there's a way in which the prayer structure is used to change your feelings. Like, okay, I'm feeling depressed about something, rather than going into what does that tell me? What is the information I'm gaining from that? What am I getting out of this? And feeling the beauty of that feeling. Yeah. It goes right to, well, let's make a declaration that everything is great, you know, and I never feel that from you, Jeff. And I love listening to whenever you share, because I feel like you don't shortchange the hard stuff. You're willing to sit with when your feelings are not all lined up with, you know, rainbows and unicorns, and you will go there. And then I really get something deep and meaningful out of it. But when people go right directly to the, well, let's, you know, just don't feel that way and declare this. Yeah. That's troublesome.
Yeah. 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 We can find ourselves in that position. And I think as we've matured as a philosophy, we're getting better and better at that. If you know, as we consider these things, as our awareness does mature, the realization is that God is all there is, period, without exception, and that includes night and day, and up and down, and light and dark, and all of that we navigate. Can I change my relationship with my own feelings so that equation of avoidance doesn't really even need to come into play? If my feelings are my friends and they're informing me, even when they're informing me of uncomfortable things, that this is the universe conspiring for my good, why would I not consider that? But it's, I'll give you an example. That feeling in your belly, butterflies, call it what you will, that I used to get when faced with, you know, something challenging or something mysterious or whatever, and I identified that feeling as fear. What I realized somewhere along the way is that fear and excitement feel very, very, very similar embodied. And I came to the shocking realization that I had been misidentifying my feelings, not always, but often, often enough to take more time and more consideration. What are these feelings really, and what are they informing me of? And the other part of the equation is my experience is that when I am willing to be with the feelings and get the message, whatever the message is that the feelings are trying to convey to me, then the messenger, often as not, can be dismissed. The feelings have done their job. It's when I avoid them and deny them and try not to experience them that they continue to be persistent in my mind and heart, because it's the universe trying to inform me of something that may be important to me. So for me, it's not even specifically the content of the feelings so much as a willingness to be with them and to change my relationship with them. And that is not to say that I don't get sad and I don't get heartbroken and I don't get confused and I don't get lost, just like everybody else. I do. It just doesn't terrify me quite as much as it used to, and I'm able to navigate those feelings in a very different way than I ever have. And I think that's that goes a long way towards the kind of relationship that I want to have with the intelligence in my own body, in my mind and body and heart and soul. So hopefully we're moving in that direction, Krista. That's my desire. And there's quite a few of us in the movement that have really brought the feeling aspect into the conversation, and I'm ecstatic about that. So
Thank you. Well,
yeah.
and this is just one of the reasons that I love you, Jeff. Thank you.
Oh, bless your heart, Krista. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Who else?
This is TC. I'll go.
Hey, TC.
What happens with me is I'm like, all right, I'm going to feel my feelings and I'm going to commune with them. And I rapidly get overwhelmed. And so, I mean, it's nice to say that, but that takes time.
Yes, it does.
It's not like you can say, all right, here, icky feeling, what, what message do you have for me? And icky feeling says X,
Right.
and you're like, yay. I mean, it's like you have to sit with it for a while, and then you have to, I mean, it's a very long process. And then usually it comes up with something and you have to process that too. Right.
And then I have to process the way I'm processing.
Right. And then it's just like, okay, so I do this for a little while, and then I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm too tired.
Yeah. I really think bite-sized pieces. I mean, it especially if it's, if it's a new practice. I mean, I learned what I learned over the course of decades, and that stuff gets pretty well entrenched in our mental models. So to shift into something like that, and sometimes I can't do it. Sometimes I can't even do it by myself, and that's where a practitioner or a prayer partner or somebody that will, a witness, that might be able to hold the light for me just a little bit while I do a little bit of digging. But I can only do so much. I mean, I think being gentle with ourselves and doing this work incrementally, being kind, being patient, we get to practice all that stuff with ourselves along the way too. And maybe just the practice of that has tremendous value, because I'm learning how to be patient with myself. And I know that how I learn to treat myself, I'm also learning how to treat you.
Yeah, the kindness to myself is one that I'm still working on.
Yeah.
But,
Big work.
okay, I'm complete.
Bless you. Thank you, TC. Who's next? Hi, Joan.
Hey.
Hey.
So I'm kind of right there along with you guys. A big part of what's been going on for me the last few months is that I haven't been working, and it's been marvelous. It's like a sleep environment, which can be pretty scary. And so I kind of easily slipped into just relaxing and taking care of myself. chilling out, letting go of judging myself, rushing around like, oh, you got to do the dishes now. You got to do this now. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I don't. and it's fine. And at the same time, with all this big, heavy stuff, huge, amazing, crazy stuff going on, and being able to have this time to focus more. I've learned to, or just shifted into cherishing friends and myself even more, and have been pretty good about allowing myself to feel, and again, not judging, but just kind of going through it, and knowing that I have choices, not necessarily of how I feel, though usually I do, but how I react and what I do with those feelings. And I'm really getting better at, this is my responsibility and choices, which is really pretty freeing. So, and then at the same time, just the combination of cherishing things more, not being at work. I'm seeing God more easily everywhere. Like, I went to Trader Joe's the other day and I'm driving home. I'm at the stop sign and people are driving by, and I'm looking in their cars and I'm looking at the faces and I'm seeing God.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really seeing God. So it's like that shift from, go, do, to just being more free and in touch and with God, and having wonderful, safe places to share my feelings, to share with others, which is a huge gift. So I think that's about it.
That's
So
deep.
pretty
Thank
fortunate.
you, Joan. You're not the only one that I've heard from that is experiencing a reconsideration this year of values and priorities. What if what we had learned, some of it, a lot of it, maybe, what if it's not true? What if it's not serving us? What if this spaciousness that seems to be reasserting itself in some of our lives, that feeling is informing us of something? What's the message? Most of us in our culture, we have bought into a belief that our output, our productivity is commensurate with our worth. Wow. Where did that come from? Is it true? Does it serve me? It doesn't serve me. I can work myself to a frazzle. Most of us have learned how to do that. I don't know that serves us, though. So I think this time of reconsideration is good. I think things are going to look very different going forward. And it's my prayer that we are that we're informed by our feelings, and we come out the other side of this more balanced, weller, better informed on how to live happy, joyous, and good lives.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Joan. Who's next?
Well, I can't, this is Vicky talking, and I can't undo my start my video. Okay, there you are. Hi. So I realized during this time that I spend an awful lot of my life prior to COVID and smoke and everything being out, doing. I'm always doing something. I'm out teaching something, or I'm out learning something, or I'm out visiting somebody, and I'm out giving to people, and I'm putting out all the time because I love to do it. So now all of a sudden I find myself at my home in this quiet place that I really do enjoy, and I loved it before, and now I really love it because I know it intimately because I'm here all the time, or most of the time. And it's given me an opportunity to realize that I have feelings too. And sometimes they just kind of pop out and I don't even know where they come from. And so I've been embracing them, whether it's all of a sudden I'm laughing and I'm feeling joyous, or all of a sudden I'm tearful, or I'm grieving about something. And I found it a fascinating journey, and the fact that I'm allowing myself to do it. I'm not hiding from it. I'm not going in the kitchen and eating something to tamp them down. I'm actually experiencing them. And I just realized that I wasn't really a big sharer of my feelings to myself, and I would listen to other people's feelings and I could really understand. I was a good listener, but I never listened to me. And so I have felt very enriched by that. And it makes my communications with other people, and I've had a great deal of them because I've been taking lots of webinars and groups where there's a lot of sharing in it, and it makes me more open because I understand me better, and then I can really feel others better in a different way. So that has been a good lesson for me that I know that I'm going to continue to. I've grown a lot from that, and I appreciate that. So that's where.
Blessed be. That was going to be my next question to you. Was has your experience of this change of relationship with yourself also changed your relationship with other people?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it will change your thinking, change your lives. Who knew?
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vicki. Who's next? Trying to think of another brilliant jump off question. Feelings.
Hi, this is Robert.
Hello, Robert.
Hello, Reverend Jeff. So when Vicki was talking, it made me think about how, I mean, the thing that's been kind of profound for me during the pandemic is that it's made me realize how much time I and just the culture in general spend distracting ourselves. And it's been interesting not having as many distractions, and what that's led to. And like Joan, it's for me been a process of figuring out what's really important. And a part of me is concerned that when things get back to quote normal, this is what I hear people saying all the time. I just want things to be normal. Well, normal wasn't so great.
Right.
So it's like, I'm concerned about even, for myself, falling back into some patterns of distracting myself.
Right.
But and the other thing I'm noticing is that because we don't have as much social interaction and everything is like remote like this, and we certainly don't have as much like physical contact and that sort of thing, that it's building up, a certain level of frustration. And I see it because I'm still going into work and I'm working in an office with, a number of people. I see how people react differently to it. So I've got, you know, like this management team of 10 people, and, you know, we're all under a fair amount of stress, and some people are, you know, they're dealing with it pretty comfortably. You know, they're engaged, they're doing things, and other people are kind of freaking out and losing it. And it makes me think about there. You know, there's like this sort of bumper sticker quote about how don't believe everything you think. And I'm wondering if sometimes, you know, our feelings can be the same way. You know, it's like, I think I've noticed for myself that there are times when I can have an inaccurate thought about a situation, which creates a feeling.
Yeah.
And that feeling is responding to my thought.
Right.
So it's really not, when you were talking about it being a messenger, in this case, it's more just a reflection of my thought than it is something that is really an important message for me. And it almost seems sometimes too to be have to do with the level of intensity. It's like, but if I have like a strong feeling about something, then that tends to be something that I really need to pay attention to, as opposed to, you know, just sort of like some fleeting anxiety or, you know, something like that. But I'm curious, Senior Minister, about what your thoughts are with that, in terms of, you know, how sometimes just we can have misinformed thoughts that create misinformed feelings.
Oh, absolutely. And to go back to the example that I used earlier of misinterpreting excitement for fear, then that's the beginning of a whole line, a whole stack of dominoes that can influence my choices and how I show up from that point forward. So it's critical that this is back to my relationship with my feelings. The more self-aware we become, the better sense I have about whether my feelings are, about what category they fit in. But my brain is completely capable of going after my backside, taking a bone in, like a bit, and running with it. And I can run myself, you know, way out into left field or way down into a hole based on something that isn't. I'm completely capable of borrowing trouble that isn't, of making up opinions about you that aren't, of making up opinions of what you think about me, whether or not they're true. I mean, you know, we're very creative critters. So a little bit of self-examination serves us, especially if I'm going to be making choices and decisions based on the information that's coming in. And that's where often is not because I know I'm capable of accompanying myself completely off track and out into left field. That's when I'll go to some of my people and say, this is what I'm thinking and feeling. What do you see from where you sit? That serves me very, very well. I have also learned the hard way to step away from the keyboard, to step away from, you know, the reactive. I know that if I'm in a reactive mode of a way of responding, it might serve me to pause and sleep on it. Talk to somebody, sleep on it, reconsider, come back to it tomorrow. Yeah, all of those are mechanisms that serve me very well. So it's not like I have an experience of my feelings and am immediately able to accurately identify everything that's going on in my mind and heart. I'm not there yet. Well, sometimes I can get close, but most of the time it's a process, and I need to sort things out before I move forward. Is that, you know, your question?
Yeah, and there's a couple of things you said that really ring true for me. One is that, you know, it's a process of mindfulness. It's like when I'm in a mindful place, whether it's paying attention to my thoughts or paying attention to my bodily sensations or emotions, then it's easier for me to discern, and separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that, that you said that really rings true for me, is that you can't always do it by yourself. It's like having a trusted, friend to talk something out with, often through that process. And I know we have a couple of therapists in the house tonight who I'm sure will confirm this, that, talking it out, you sometimes uncover the different layers. And, like I've had an experience of where, I was like really upset about something or angry about something, and talking to a friend about it. And what I find underneath is that it was actually sadness underneath it, or there's actually fear underneath the anger, or, something like that. So it is a process, and sometimes you have to process it, in an active way.
Yeah. Well, and as I've navigated and studied and attempted to decrease my own suffering along the way, the realization is too that, and this was a big one for me, and that is that my heart seems to be more trustworthy than my brain. And so I've learned, because I wasn't taught, I was taught to think my way out and think my way through. I am much better served to incorporate the two, and have a much more complete experience of whatever guidance, whatever information it is that I'm getting, without the feeling part, because I know what my brain is capable of, and it's capable of the things that you were referring to. It can take my hand and walk me off and convince me that what I'm thinking and feeling is correct and right, when in fact it has no basis, no foundation in reality at all, So we bring all the tools, we start to bring all the tools to bear, so that we can navigate better, than we have in the past. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Let's see how we're doing for time. We got time for maybe one more? Yeah, Eliza.
Mute.
There you go.
I really appreciate what you said, Robert, about mindfulness, because that's been so important for me, to have a mindfulness practice every day. Because like Reverend Jeff, I was not taught about feelings. I was just taught not to have them. If you have to have them, then go to your room and have them there. Don't,
right.
For God's sake, don't express them here. And
Isn't that funny? Isn't that a weird thing? Where did all that come from? I mean, sometimes I wonder. I don't spend too much time on it.
Yeah, we can have a discussion about that some other time. But
yeah,
anyway, right. I found out that, I really thought, this sounds so crazy. I thought that being an adult meant that you just were kind of like this all the time, and you never just didn't have strong emotions and not express them, and, obviously that didn't work.
Right. Nice try.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But so the mindfulness, one of my teachers told me something that I've never forgotten, is that the physical body is always in the present. So the mindfulness for me is when I'm having a strong feeling that I don't know, doesn't seem to match what's going on around me, that to take a breath, to get physically gotten, to get in my physical body. And this is what therapists teach in PTSD, they, breathe, and, where is that in your body? Where are you feeling it in your body? And so a lot of times I find, this is connected, something happening right now connected me to a feeling I should have had about 30 years ago.
Yeah, history files. Yep.
And another thing that I learned on my own, and actually I read it somewhere recently, an occupational therapist was saying it, that when you're overwhelmed by your feelings of grief, I think was the one that OT was talking about. And he said, just put it in a little box and set it aside and get on with your day. But the trick is you got to get back to that box, okay, and open it up, later.
Right.
And that was something that I did as a child, because I had to have a place for it. And in my family, there was no place for it. And so I would put it in a box. And then when I would go to bed at night, I'd open the box and deal with the feelings, And now I'm more apt to just be with the feeling in the moment. It's a lot more efficient and a lot more accurate than, but there are still times where, you have to set it aside and be professional, or you have to be in a situation where expressing your fear might put you in more danger. So you have to act like you're not afraid. Anyway, it's kind of a nice little trick, but the trick is also to be in your body, and art has also really helped me to connect. If I can't open that box, to maybe draw a picture or dance or listen to music, just ways of getting back into my body and acknowledging those feelings and not having to judge them the way I did when I was a kid about those feelings are bad and these ones are okay. And those
it's such a big part of the equation. And then, and then shame comes into the equation because we feel things that we've been taught we're not supposed to feel or whatever.
All right.
Ooh, what a mess.
Well, I mean, shame is useful. Sometimes I feel ashamed, and then that means, oh, okay, I don't want to do that again or say that again. But I don't want to wallow and get stuck in the shame. It's just something that tells me, oh, that,
right. Right.
Yeah,
it might be in a different context. I could see how it could be a part of mindfulness. If I'm feeling something, then it's informing me of something, maybe. I'm checking out, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm watching our time. And I have to show you this. It's an interesting book that I've just started to investigate.
By who?
Permission to Feel, and the author is
Mark Brackett. Okay.
So it just I just actually looked at it for the first time this afternoon and looked at a couple of paragraphs, and I thought, gosh, I wish I would have had this sooner. So I might be speaking to it more Sunday, but he's speaking to basically the same thing. The subtitle is Unlocking the Power of Emotions to Help Our Kids, Ourselves, and Our Society Thrive. So he's really speaking to wholeness and to mindfulness and to reconciling our relationship with our own feelings, that it might serve the highest and best good of not only us as individuals, but as a whole. And I think it will. I think that's part of our awakening that we're in the midst of. So, all right, bless our hearts. I am assuming that you're relatively complete, Eliza. You turned off your camera and your mic. I appreciate your share very much. And we'll, I think I'll, with that, hand it back over. With pleasure. And so I invite us all to take a breath. And allow that breath to be the reminder of the truth and who and what we are, that there is one life, and that life is God's life, and that life is my life and your life right now. Thoughts, feelings, dreams, desires, all existing within the one thing, all existing within the one whole. And so I recognize that then all as sacred, all as holy, all worthy of consideration and integration into the whole, that I might show up in the world in the way that my heart and soul desires to show up in the world. Kind, mindful, loving, well in all the ways that there is to feel. And so I claim for each of us that our feelings meet us gently and easily, that they do so in an informing and nurturing and nourishing way, that this week is one of self-awareness and of learning and of navigating life with more and more grace, with every step, with every breath, with every beat of every heart. And so knowing this to be good then, knowing this to be God in action, grateful for the opportunity to be in such good company. I rest in that gratitude, knowing it to be good. Let it be. And so it is.